Alright, first and foremost, this is not going to be a Nuzlocking playthrough, mostly because I am afraid of trying to figure out the rules for Nuzlocking, mostly because I am also lazy to look those up, but also because I wanted to take on a different type of challenge that I have not seen a lot of people take up, honestly. So what I'm going to do is that I'm going to run completely through this game from start to finish, only using one whole Pokemon. I'm not going to catch anything else, whether it's going to be a legendary, a shiny, or even a really cool evolved form of what I am already going to choose. I am going to choose my one Pokemon from the start and run completely through this game without anyone else. So as you can see, normally this game does start off as it usually did in the original version. So you get caught up with your rival here. He thuds into you, finds you a lot, like a million yen each time, gets you caught in some trouble with a couple wild Pokemon with an abandoned briefcase over here, and it pretty much brings me up to a decision either between Turtwig, Chimchar, or Piplup. So deciding between Piplup or Chimchar for this playthrough, I decided on Turtwig, because he is underrated, I believe, and I have actually never played this generation with Turtwig. So pretty much after selecting him, this, I want to say, motion of battles had all kind of just become a little bit the same, with, of course, the usage of some tackles, more tackles, on top of, you guessed it, more tackles. And so, after coming up on these wild Pokemon encounters, ended up going into Professor Rowan's lab here, and this is where I decided to name him Trusty, because I'm going to be trusting in him that he's going to pull me through this whole playthrough. And of course, after saying no to him a couple times for the Pokedex run through of his chore and his job, pretty much just holds a gun up to your head and is just like, nah, you're going to do this. Here's a Pokedex. You have no choice. And I was like, okay, I have no choice. I'll do it. So this, of course, in turn turned into compulsive buying of potions, antidotes, paralyzed heals, pretty much anything and everything that is either going to boost my stats or pretty much heal my trusty Turtwig through the thick and thin of what this playthrough is going to be. So in turn, this also turned into finally some trainer battles. And I've got to say, these trainer battles definitely weren't all that much different. Why? Because it was tackles upon of more tackles and the occasional withdraw just to keep myself a little bit awake on these battles. And, of course, I'm going to be spending a lot of time at the Poke Center, constantly healing and constantly selling every single thing I have to buy more potions, to buy more antidotes, to buy more paralyzed heals. And pretty much after that point, I bring myself out to Jubilife City because obviously this is going to be the next part of the game where I'm going to move forward and deliver everything I need to deliver to Barry because, of course, he ran off thinking about the 1 million yen or whatever. But so far up until this point, this playthrough hasn't been all that much challenging, even though I'm doing this to kind of challenge myself with it. But, I feel like eventually that this is going to turn out the way that I want it to turn out in terms of challenges. So, of course, after talking with Barry, I get the maps, decide to battle a couple of kids, and I decided, yes, I'm going to beat them up in their own school with their own Pokemon, using only the one Pokemon that I decided to choose for this run through, which is Turtwig. And so, again, these battles weren't all that different. I managed to be able to use Leafage, though, at this point, which is what I want to say kind of a lower end Razor Leaf, but I beat them up, take their money, end up going back outside, end up getting the Pokéetch. And, well, is it Pokéetch or Pokéetch? I don't know. You tell me. But what really drove me to do this playthrough as well is that I don't really need to go out and get HM slaves. So, in turn, again, turns into buying more potions, and finally end up coming up on my rival Barry here. And this battle was definitely a little bit, I want to say, a little bit more interesting because I managed to use some stat boosters. And of course, after being able to use my stat boosting moves to gain the advantage over my rival here, he decides to call me cocky. So what do? Of course, I heal with one of the many potions that I have because that is all that I bought. And I decide to take him down and his whole team with tackle. What a good way to end the battle, right? With a good old fashioned tackle. All I'm going to be able to use for such a long time at this point. But of course, after that, this is pretty much going to be a point where, of course, I'm going to take his money. And we ended up making our way to the Orberg City tunnel system over here. And then, ended up getting some access for HM moves. Shortly after that, I ended up making my way to the Orberg City gym over here. Just annihilated everybody with Razor Leaf at this point. One hit KO. Pretty much this situation. I did not imagine that this gym would be much of a challenge considering the type advantage. I don't think I'm going to come up on the difficulty for gyms up until the Eterna City gym. But of course, after engaging with battle with Rourke, this turns into Razor Leaf on top of Razor Leaf and defeated him with some more Razor Leaf. And of course, after beating him and his whole team up, we took his money. And in turn, ended up getting the coal badge from the Orberg gym in a matter of 5 minutes. And then right after that, went back for some more healing because I'm going to be spending a lot of time at the Poke Centers healing the one Pokemon that I have. So shortly after that, I make my way back to Jubilife City over here. Ended up coming across some Team Galactic grunts. Gosh, words. But, a couple of us 10-year-olds, I believe, because that would be the age for a Pokemon trainer. We ended up engaging battle with some common thugs of the Pokemon industry here. And of course, we annihilate them both because it wasn't that much of a difficult battle considering I had a partner with this battle. And of course, we took their money. And so now after that, turned into more tackles, and I found out I can't double battle on my own, which is the first time I've ever come up on that, actually. So I found that interesting. So shortly after that, beat up some more grunts, took their money, and came up on the final battle here. This is about 2 hours of gameplay at this point, because a lot of tackles and a lot of potions used. But this battle was definitely the more difficult one within the first 2 hours of the game. She was actually kind of smart, I want to say. She ended up switching out some Pokemon on me a couple times, and just because of the type advantage of Turtwig, it made it difficult for her to use much of anything that was affected. So that was pretty much my first 2 hours of soloing Pokemon Shining Pearl. So, Wasabi out.